The spiritual science of self-love. You see, when you truly understand what self-love is from a point of metaphysics, you come to the recognition that self-love is nothing more than a desire for fulfillment. And the mistake that we often make when it comes to our desire to materialize our desired reality is seeking that degree of fulfillment in relationships, career, and money, without also realizing that the very act of you seeking it in those things is the indication that you're lacking it. And unfortunately, when it comes to manifestation, you can only have what you already have. And until you have self-love in completion across all of the components that make up self-love, which I'll go through in this video, you won't possess the ability to have things be magnetized to you. I see a lot of people that desire anything from relationships, anything from more money, anything from career, or what we conceptualize as opportunities. But like I said, if you're lacking self-love, then unfortunately you won't be vibrationally resonant with those things. You need to occupy the state of consciousness or whatever it is that you want. But until you can come to a degree of fulfillment, you will be separated from the infinite intelligence, which is the closest thing that you need to get to when it comes to materializing your desired reality. So let's get into it. As you can see, career, money, luck, he's hugging himself, love.
That's Triple H.
You know what I'm saying? Now it looks like, you know, in WWE, where like Jeff Hardy and them out.
Shawn Michael, Jeff Hardy, Triple H, all them, man.
You know, finding out wrestling was fake was where my trust issues began.
Nah, real. I remember when it was a conspiracy. I was like, nah.
That was a conspiracy, though.
I was like, nah, it can't be, man.
That was a bigger conspiracy than the Illuminati.
Nah, real. You couldn't go online and not hear about it. I don't know what it is about supporting villains, but like, I feel like everyone supported Randy Orton.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I hear voices in my head.
And
The Undertaker.
Yeah.
You know, when I was young, I was afraid of the boogeyman more than the devil.
Bro, the boogeyman.
Yo, my cousin, shout out Bradley. He used to cry when he saw the boogeyman. We used to tell that nigga, yo, if you don't pattern up, we're gonna call him to come get you. Yo, there's nothing like rage baiting your little cousins, man. I'm telling you. Rage baiting kids will never not be funny. Bro used to scream.
Nah,
as if I had the boogeyman on the phone that I didn't have.
I had to let that guy on TV. I will never understand.
Eating worms. I use onside and ass. Okay.
After seeing the amount of baddies that be under your comments, likes, and followers.
Is this you or is this a comment?
This is a comment. Come on, bro.
I'm just double checking before we get started.
After seeing all the baddies that be under your comments, likes, and followers, bruh, I know what my purpose is in life now. I didn't know these hus had brains for real.
What? What?
He said he didn't know these girls had brains for real.
After seeing baddies in my comments, likes, and followers.
Yeah. Bro's checking every angle.
You know what I'm saying? Covering all bases. All right, cool. So, as I said, self-love is made up of a multitude of components, which I'll go through. Relax, you're gonna get some. And this arguably might be one of the most important videos that I've ever made, for the mere fact that if you really think about it, in the way that I define self-love from a point of metaphysics, self-love is nothing more than the desire for fulfillment. And wholeness. That is all self-love is. But the mistake that we often make as human beings is externalizing that degree of fulfillment and wholeness into our desires, which ironically is an indication that we're lacking in them. Because, go back to what I said, the annoying law of the universe, you can only have what you already have. You can only have what you already have. But when I say have, you're thinking from the physical plane ideology of possessing it physically. When I'm talking have, I'm talking about beyond the illusion, transcending the illusions of the third dimensional realm, which goes onto the only thing that is truly real in this universe, which is energy. And all energy at a base form is a vibration. So when we're talking about having from a point of the universe, is possessing, not physically, but vibrationally, the equivalent mentally and emotionally, or whatever it is that you desire. You see, when we're talking about self-love, we seek self-love, as I said, in our desires, which can be anything from money, it can be anything from our careers. We have this inherent idea, or even other people, we have this inherent idea that if we attain these things, then we will reach that degree of fulfillment and wholeness, without coming to the recognition that your desire in seeking fulfillment is the indication that you're lacking fulfillment. So the base point that you have to begin with is come to the understanding that self-love isn't in the attainment of anything external. Self-love is an identity that you must enter now. And that's what I'll write that down. You see, oftentimes, for most people, we rank our degree of self-love by our ability to attain certain things. We rank our self-love on our ability to get the career. We rank it on the ability to get that person, to have a certain amount of money, without coming to the recognition that when you tie anything to the external, you ultimately tie yourself up to an illusion. And if you tie yourself up to an illusion is forever changing, which means that your degree of self-love will be forever changing, which means you will never actually reach any particular degree of fulfillment and wholeness, which means that you will always be lacking. And if you're always lacking within, then guess what's going to happen without? AJ?
You're lacking.
Exactly. You're going to be lacking, because before anything can exist physically, it first must exist vibrationally. And if vibrationally, from a state of consciousness, your frequency, self-concept, which are all interchangeable terms for the exact same thing, they're all interchangeable terms for the exact same thing. If you're lacking internally, the money, the career, the relationship, your self-love isn't going to be where it needs to be. In order for you to attain something, you must come to the recognition on the most important relationship in this universe. Let me show you. Sometimes life comes around and then knocks you down. Just get back up
and it knocks you down.
And it knocks you down.
I've realized the GOAT is not Drake.
Okay.
It's not Kendrick. It's that man Kanye West.
I was the class clown that always kept you laughing. We were never meant to be, baby. We just happened. So please don't mess up the trick. Hey, young world, I'm the new slick Rick. They say I move too quick, but we can let this moment pass us. So, as I said, there's one most important relationship in this universe, and that is the relationship that you have with yourself. The relationship that you have with yourself will be the foundation of all relationships that you have with anybody in this universe, and that's what I write that down. I repeat, the relationship that you have with yourself will be the foundation of every single relationship that you have with everything in this universe. Now, bear in mind, this is the closest thing you SP niggas are ever going to get to me making a video. And this ain't even about just in a romantic sense. As I said, self-love from the point of metaphysics isn't anything that the world wants you to believe it is, like, you know, taking yourself out for dinner and, you know, taking care of yourself. It's not even anything to do with that, because if we're going to look at it from a point of metaphysics, it's nothing more than the desire to seek fulfillment and wholeness. But if you can't seek desire, fulfillment, and wholeness within yourself, if that's something that you don't already possess, then you won't be able to materialize or manifest whatever it is that you want. Because remember my definition of manifestation. Manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. I repeat, manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent. And the only way that you cannot be emotionally dependent upon reality is if you already possess what you think reality can offer you. Because here's the thing. You think that somebody can give you more love than you can give yourself. You think that desire, you think that career, you think that amount of money can give you more fulfillment than you give yourself. And that is where you're lacking, because all of those things are nothing more than you externalized. As I said, the foundational relationship that you have in life, before with your partner, before with your parents, before with your siblings, before your friends. And I don't mean this from a point of being selfish. I mean this from a point of coming to the recognition that you quite literally live in a universe. The individuals that you come across, you know, my dad said something to me when I was younger, and I never forgot it for some reason. And he said, life is about people. And quite simplistically, when you think about it, whether it's your ability to get more money from business, sales, or clients, that's dependent upon people. Whether it's your romantic relationships, that's dependent upon people. Whether that's your career, that's also dependent upon people. Everything in reality is dependent upon people. So if everything's dependent upon people, what are those people dependent upon? And that is the relationship that you have with yourself. And that's a bar, write that down. So we're going to be going into that because really and truly, it is the most important relationship you have with everybody. For the mere fact that also from a point of metaphysics, every single person is nothing more than you expressed differently. Same consciousness, the only difference is the physical expression. Same consciousness, only thing different is the physical expression. And this can be extrapolated to the realm of quantum mechanics when we're looking at the idea, for example, of quantum entanglement, which is when two particles are connected, no matter how far separated they become across the universe, what you do to one is instantly done to another, because of course they're void of the third dimensional realm constraints such as time and space. And this is the scientific way of just simply saying non-duality. It's the scientific way of just saying oneness. Yeah. So once you come to the recognition that every relationship that you have is always going to be a reflection of a relationship that you have with yourself, then this is the relationship that must be prioritized. Who would have thought that a prioritization of your relationship with yourself would lead to the easier materialization of relationship with other people? Who would have thought that the prioritization of the relationship with yourself would lead to more opportunities, would lead to more advances in your career, would lead to you being employed? It all begins with yourself, all of it. And to go back to something that I said, remember, anytime that you're focusing on the external, you're not taking into consideration the most important thing when it comes to reality. There's something that I call the desire of your desires. The desire of your desires is the key to unlocking the materialization and the manifestation of whatever it is that you want. Whether it's that specific person, whether it's that specific amount of money, whether it's that specific career, whether it's that specific career promotion. And the desire of your desires is coming to the understanding of the fact that all your desired reality wants is this one thing. And if you just remember this one thing, and if you can keep this one thing at the top of your mind, you will never be playing the game of manifestation backwards like everybody else that you see struggling. And that is coming to the recognition that your desire wants one thing. Your desire wants nothing more than the equivalent frequency state of consciousness that matches it. That is all it wants. And if you can make your desire desire you, that's when everything flips. But the issue is you still think, I want that person. You think, I want that amount of money. You think, I want that career. I want that promotion. But have you ever asked yourself, what do they want? What does that person want? What does that amount of money want? If you simplify and break it down, these desired realities are nothing more than the materialization of your consciousness. It's the materialization of your frequency, which means that they have an energetic equivalent. And if you can attain that energetic equivalent, then you will come to the true recognition that you can make those things want you. And the easiest way to decide what it is nothing more than the combination of a mental and an emotional state. That is all your frequency and consciousness is. Now, of course, there's other things such as your beliefs, your perceptions, your emotionally charged thoughts, the degree of conviction that you have within yourself, your expectation. But if we're just to simplify it for the purpose of this video, if you want to go deeper into that, then go grab Outsmarting Reality. Amazon bestseller in all 3 categories in less than 24 hours. Now, all jokes aside, emotionally and mental state, if we break it down to a simple formula, that's all it is. If you can attain the equivalent of the mental and emotional state of whatever it is that you desire already possessing it, then you will make that thing want you. And this all goes back to my definition of manifestation. And bear in mind, we haven't even got into the characteristic or the component, of self-love. And when you go through those, when we go through those components, you're going to see where you've been fucking your shit up. And I truly mean that. And if you're fucking yourself up internally, then unfortunately, you set yourself in motion for the universe to do the exact same thing to you. So it's important that also make sure you take notes and leave them in the comments. But like I said, the desire of your desires, when you can come to the understanding that your desire wants nothing more than its frequency, energetic, or state of consciousness equivalent, which is nothing more than a mental and emotional state. And if you enter that mental and emotional state in the reality now, already coming to the conclusion that you already possess that amount of money, you already possess that career, you already possess that person, and you can do that to such a degree that you're not dependent upon seeing your reality change, because you have created an emotional, intense, energetic charge through controlled imagination to stimulate the subconscious mind, convincing it that what it sees is nothing more than what you already possess. Then that is when things will change. But there's nothing more important than this. If there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be that the most important relationship that you have with anybody is the one with yourself. And this goes back to a whole bunch of things that I've previously said in videos. I always say your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. So before you want that person, you've already spoke to them from a point of frequency. Before you apply for that job, you've already spoke to that job from a point of frequency. Before you apply for that promotion, you've already spoke to it from a point of frequency. Before you get on that sales call, you've already spoke to that person from a point of frequency. Before you go and sell your product, you've already spoken to that customer from a point of frequency. And Neville Goddard also said, people echo what we whisper to them in consciousness. So it's the same thing, just said different ways. You need to come to the understanding that it all begins with you. And the more that you can understand you, and the more you can strive for that degree of fulfillment by coming to the understanding of the components, that is when things will change. So let's get into the components.
You're spitting still.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. It's important, like it's really important. And I think for me, it's been easy because, you know, on my mom's side, I'm my only child, so I had nothing to do but be alone. You know what I'm saying?
He was a loner.
Yeah, for the most part.
Bro, I think this guy commented something, and I think he's onto something. I watch AJ's channel too.
Okay.
He applies information he got from you in a great way.
He does. He does.
Thank you. Everything is fine.
And congratulations on 10K.
Thank you. I'm on 11.
Oh, you're on 11?
I think.
Sorry, bro.
He goes, everything is fine now.
Oh.
Okay. What does that mean?
I feel like I need to listen to this.
But Nero, be careful.
Okay.
Your light is different and brighter.
Oh?
It may stir up envy. People who envy you befriend you. Brackets, Robert Greene, Laws of Human Nature, close brackets. I have got a bad experience with this. And it is always those silent, non-threatening types that are very envious within. Okay. It is predictable AJ will sell you out one day and you will be the next Diddy case.
How did we get there?
People will twist your jokes and AJ will play the victim.
AJ's gonna be on that documentary like, yeah, I just, you know, I thought I knew him, you know, but there was something sinister about him. Or
you're going to kill AJ.
Me?
Like M sacrifice proof.
Oh,
just
you did?
Joking.
You said just joking?
Just joking.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I already signed the papers, bro. You're about to, you know what I'm saying? you got like a couple of days, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I'm doing this for us. Like, I'll take care of your family and that. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't worry.
I said I'm doing this for us. Don't worry, man. You're the sacrifice.
You know what's crazy? If anything was to actually happen, that would be the first conspiracy niggas throw at me. You know that would be the first one.
And you see this comment right here, they'll be like,
they'll
be playing it on the doc.
This will be in the documentary live. Oh.
They'll be like, AJ literally just read out his future and he didn't even know.
Okay, we'll go green and blue. Cool. Now, like I said, there's a multitude of components that make up your self-love. Self-love is made up of a bunch of components. If you think about it, it's like a pyramid. No Illuminati allegations. But these things stack on top of each other and equate to self-love. Now, the first thing that equates to self-love, the first component is self-forgiveness. Now, as I said, there's a bunch of self. They all equate to self-love. The first one is self-forgiveness. Your self-love is directly reflecting of your degree of self-forgiveness. Now, here's the thing that unfortunately a mistake that we often make as human beings. Understand this, the base premise of whether you want to materialize a partner, a career, a certain amount of money, you need to have that type of relationship that you desire to have with another, with yourself. So if you desire to have a healthy relationship with money, you need to have a healthy relationship with money first within. If you desire to have a healthy relationship with somebody else, you need to have a healthy relationship with yourself within first. If you desire to have a healthy relationship with that career or that career promotion, you need to have a healthy relationship with yourself first. You are the most important relationship. Now, self-forgiveness is one of those things. Now, what do I mean by this? You see, more often than not, by the way, every one of these self components that equate to self-love come with the energetic polarity. Of course, we exist within this third dimensional realm. And one of the hermetic laws of this third dimensional realm is the law of polarity, which is nothing more than a fancy way of saying energetic separation. Everything comes with an energetic complementary pair. For example, hot, cold, light, dark, masculine, feminine. In this instance, self-punishment and self-forgiveness. And the energetic polarity of self-forgiveness is self-punishment. And what do I mean by this? How often do you punish yourself within? That's actually probably something you should write down. Because the more you can become aware of which one of these components that you're aligning to, the more you're actually going to be in a position to alter your degree of self-love. If you can alter the relationship you have with yourself, then you alter the relationship that you have with the universe. And that's a bar, write that down. And it all begins with coming to the recognition of when you punish yourself for your mistakes, your failures, and your shortcomings. And this is really deep. And I think about something myself that I punished myself for years. When I really think, and when I came to this conclusion, it kind of gave me goosebumps. And one thing that I realized is that growing up, of course, seeing my mom struggle to provide, working tirelessly to provide, and seeing her, sometimes break down because of our situation financially, I realized something. I didn't forgive myself. And you're probably thinking, like, what didn't you forgive yourself for? I didn't forgive myself for not being able to help when I was a kid, which sounds fucking stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But the subconscious mind is far from rational. It's completely irrational, and it's nothing short of emotional. And I didn't forgive myself for not being in a position earlier in life. I was like fucking 10. It doesn't even make sense. I didn't forgive myself for not being in a position to actually help. And that's something that I carried on with me for years. And the whole time, the internal conversations that I was having, which bear in mind, the internal conversations that you have within will always be reflected without elements of it, traces of it, because your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. The internal conversations that you want to move towards or shift towards is away from self-punishment. Because when things don't go right, what do you say to yourself? You say, fucking stupid. Why couldn't you do better? What were you thinking? You should have done this. You should have done this. You should have done this much earlier. What were you thinking? Why are you always so stupid? Why don't you just ever get it? Why does it never work for you? Bear in mind, the internal will always reflect the external. On earth as it is in heaven, heaven on earth as it is in heaven, as within as without. It's the same thing said across multiple different traditions. It's coming to the conclusion that the internal conversations that you have with yourself emit a frequency to those around you through a degree of thought transference, which then enters their consciousness and molds how they perceive you. For example, if you're beating yourself up in your head for being unemployed for a long period of time, then when you go for that application, for that job, that frequency has already spoke before you. If you beat yourself up in your head for not looking a certain way or not being a certain way, when you do go approach that person, you do try and move to that person, it doesn't bank because you already spoke to them from a point of consciousness. When you do attempt to close that client, you're thinking about all the instances and the times that you failed to close clients, and you're punishing yourself for your mistakes, your failures, and your shortcomings. How do you respond to yourself when you move from a point of failure, mistakes, and shortcomings? What's the internal dialogue that you have with yourself? Because elements of that, things that are resonant to that from a point of consciousness or frequency of vibration, will always be reflected in the external to people. Why did I date that person? What was I thinking? Why did I let that person treat me like that for so long? without coming to the recognition of something that the Buddha once said. The Buddha once said, holding on to resentment holding on to resentment is like holding on to hot coal that you never throw. Self-explanatory. The only person that begins to suffer is you. And when you think about how you treat yourself, the things that you say to yourself, when you make mistakes, when you make failures, when you say something stupid, when you do something stupid, when you make a mistake, when you have a shortcoming, when you have a failure, the things that you say to yourself will always be reflected in the universe around you, because the inner conversation that you have with yourself is not you realizing that the universe is going to turn those same conversations and materializing them into conditions, circumstances, and people that reflect elements of that particular conversation. And this is the irony of it all. The irony of it all is that you're seeking self-love before the world has proved it to you. That doesn't make any fucking sense. You need to already be in a state of wholeness and self-love before the world proves it to you. But you're seeking for the world to prove it to you by getting that person, which doesn't even make sense. Because if you think about it, right? Typically, whenever I see people talk about wanting to manifest other people, their desire is always for them to have somebody that's obsessed with them. Without understanding base fucking metaphysics, obsession is repulsion. Even when you get that person obsessed with you, now they're going to be obsessed with you, you're going to be repelled by them, you're going to be repulsed by them energetically, because obsession is repulsion. It doesn't even make any sense. And the desire to have somebody obsessed with you is actually an indication that you're lacking a degree of self-obsession and self-love and self-completion and self-wholeness. Or else you wouldn't desire to have somebody obsessed with you. And it's the same addiction extrapolated across a multitude of different fields. To have so much money, to desire so much money is nothing more than lacking a degree of so much self-security, self-comfort. It's the same thing across every single plane of existence. Every time that we truly desire something with such an intensity, it's always a reflection that we're lacking it within. We're lacking the internal equivalent of what we desire. And because we're lacking the internal equivalent, because you want that thing, that job, that amount of money to be obsessed with you, you don't even come to the fucking conclusion that you're lacking what it takes to even materialize in the first place, because you can only have what you already have. If you're already not in that state of consciousness, you can't have that desire. So it doesn't even make sense. You need to stop punishing yourself. I remember growing up, when I would be in church, I would see the sweetest of people, continue to struggle after praying. And for a while in my mind, I began to be like, is God punishing us? And that's a very intense thought to have at a young age. Are we being punished by God? Like, what is this? Without coming to the recognition that the truth of the matter is we're punishing ourselves. We're punishing ourselves for the things we don't have. We're punishing ourselves for the mistakes that we make. We're punishing ourselves for the mistakes and the shortcomings that we have. So what else could the universe do to us? What else could it do to us? And you have to come to the understanding that self-punishment and self-forgiveness are the exact same energy. As I said, they're energetic polarities. The only difference is their rate of vibration. And your rate of vibration is always determined by your concentration. And whether you realize this or not, when things don't go your way, or when things don't go the way that you believe they should, you begin to descend into punishing yourself for mistakes, for your failures and your shortcomings. And that concentration is a centralization of energy that sets into motion vibration. And vibration sets into motion frequency or consciousness, which then equates to reality. How often do you forgive yourself? How often do you actually tell yourself that it's okay? Which is ironic, because I need you to understand something, and please remember this. The way that you'd want somebody to treat you when you've made a mistake is the way that you need to treat yourself when you make a mistake. You actually need to be the parent that you wish you had. And that's very fucking deep. And this isn't to take anything away from any of our parents, but this is coming to the conclusion that there was aspects of our lives that when we made mistakes, and this is so funny, and I think about this, like, I remember there was this baby on TikTok, and she was with her mom, and she was like pouring milk, and the baby spilt milk all over the counter. And people in the comments, black people were like, yo, I thought she was gonna get beat. And we've all had those experiences. When you really think about it, it's really fucked up.
That's messed up.
In instances that we made mistakes, bear in mind, the subconscious mind is programmed by emotional charge. as I always say, people say it's repetition. No, repetition is a very fucking long-winded way of doing something. You can repeat something for years and it not change. You only need to go through a traumatic event once in your life for your entire subconscious mind, your perception, for you to look at the world differently and to begin to react to things differently. Now that's in the degree of negativity. The energetic complementary pair of positivity exists. So if you can generate an intense degree of emotion, and I don't mean euphoria in a sense where you're like you're on, the craziest of drugs. You can be intensely relaxed. It depends what type of person you are. You need to know yourself, because the more you know yourself, the more you begin to understand your universe. Because as it says, know thyself and thou shalt know all. So however you would respond to being your desired reality is how you need to feel from a degree of emotional intensity. And once you come to that understanding that in those instances to which you made a mistake, and your parents reacted in a certain way, or your teachers reacted in a certain way, or your friends reacted in a certain way, you've now on a subconscious level began to do the own punishing for yourself internally, without realizing that the universe does nothing more than magnify and maintain our frequency, our state of consciousness. So now every time that you make a mistake, you punish yourself for it. You talk badly to yourself about it, without also realizing that that is what people are going to pick up energetically from you. There's some people you can come around them and you just be like, something's off about that person. Something's off about that. They haven't even said a word. They could be dressed nice. They could be real cool, but something's off about that person. It's just intuitive. Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. You need to shift to forgiving yourself internally, telling yourself that it's actually okay for the mistakes that you've made, the failures that you've had, the shortcomings that you've had. This ain't about anybody else. This is about you, because the relationship that you have with yourself will be the foundation of every single relationship that you have with everybody else. You need to forgive yourself for not looking a certain way. You need to forgive yourself for not making the amount of money that you need to be making. You need to forgive yourself for not being in the position that you thought you'd be in at this time in your life. Because you don't realizing you're holding on to hot coal without coming to the recognition that you're burning nobody but yourself. Tell yourself that it's okay. Tell yourself that you forgive yourself. Make peace with the understanding that it's not about what happened necessarily in the past, but it's about what you're able to do with your particular present, because a distorted past will lead to a distorted present. And that's a bar of that down. For the mistakes and the failures and the shortcomings that you've made, you have a distorted perception towards them. Not only is it distorted, it's in combination with a bunch of emotional charge, which then can only set into motion a distorted present. Self-forgiveness is crucial. And here's the thing, a lot of people think that feeling guilty is their way of, this is what they deserve. And it's fucked up. This is honestly what we think as human beings. Without coming to the recognition of what I just said, the universe seeks to do nothing more than maintain and magnify whatever base emotional state that it is you're holding. So in instances where you do make mistakes or shortcomings or failures, be cool to yourself. Tell yourself it's okay. Tell yourself you'll do better, instead of punishing yourself, because self-punishment will only lead to you feeling like the universe. Have you ever felt like the world's against you? Yes, it's because whether you realize this or not, there's an aspect of yourself within that is against yourself. The external conflict is nothing more than the internal conflict materialized, and more often than not, the self-punishment. And people punish themselves for people always say to me, oh, Nero, can I manifest changes to my looks? Once again,
That's a common thing, isn't it?
without understanding, once again, really think about this from a point of consciousness. Your desire, people honestly believe that they need to change the way that they look so they can manifest people. This is ridiculous. And the reason why I say it's ridiculous is that your external desire to alter yourself is nothing more than an indication that you're lacking how you'd feel upon changing yourself externally. If changing your nose or growing taller or this or that or whatever it is, or getting skinny or getting thick, whatever it is, if doing that would make you feel a certain way, then your very desire is an indication that you're lacking how you'd feel upon being in that reality. Without coming to the recognition that you don't have to change yourself externally to alter yourself internally. Because the truth of the matter is, like Chris said in The Sopranos, you can't solve a spiritual problem with a chemical solution or a physical problem. It's the same thing. You're seeking to alter yourself externally, you're going to feel the same way. How do I know? There's a great book called Psycho-Cybernetics, where there was a plastic surgeon. People used to come to him in the 90s. People used to come, or was it in the 70s? One of them. People used to come to him and say, hey, I want to change my nose because I think it's affecting my ability to get my job. He'd give them a nose job and then have the exact same fucking problem. So please, you have to mature and come to the understanding from a point of metaphysics that changing yourself externally isn't going to solve what is happening internally. The internal can only be solved by the internal. The internal can only be solved by the internal. And the confidence that you believe and the security that you believe you'd have upon changing yourself externally is actually the confidence that you need to instill into yourself now, because your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Then being short isn't a problem. Then being on the thicker side isn't a problem. Then being on the skinny side isn't a problem. Then your nose wouldn't be a problem. Your ears wouldn't be a problem. But yes, self-punishment is definitely one that plagues most of humanity, I believe. I believe most of us punish. And I think it was, I don't remember which Stoic, I don't know if it was Seneca or Epictetus that said, we suffer more in imagination than reality. And it's the truth. And because we suffer so much in imagination from a point of metaphysics, we suffer in reality because of our imagination, which imagination is nothing more than consciousness, self-concept, frequency, and another interchangeable term. But yes, that's one. I think we've got a couple more to go. And all of these equate to self-love. So make sure you get all of these components down. And once you got them all down, rank yourself and see where you fall. Bear in mind, as you can see, I'm not telling you to change your hair or do all of this to love yourself more, because you do that shit and you end up, and I even see it online. Like, I see videos of, people in their marriages, leaving their marriages saying nothing's wrong, but there's something missing. And guess what's missing? Self-love and internal wholeness and completion. Because most people externalize self-love and love into marriage. Most people believe that when I get married, then I'm going to have that wholeness and completion, without coming to the understanding that I think, me personally, that the best marriages can only work if two individuals are already both in a state of completion or help each other get to completion and then come together, as opposed to externalizing self-love, because they go into this thinking that they're going to get something out of it, such as anybody in any career, any degree of money or relationship, and then see that they didn't get it and now they think something's wrong without realizing that they've externalized their self-love. It's called self-love, self-love.
Someone said, I finally manifested a new job yesterday.
Congratulations.
After working for DoorDash and Uber Eats for 8 months now, damn, tough time. I was stuck in analysis paralysis and was also caught up in thinking I changed the cause to the effect of getting accepted for a job instead of being rejected countless times over the months. Finally figured out the key and just wanted to say thank you for your help. Time to manifest some baddies.
Okay.
What's to this back?
The man them do nothing more than focus on baddies.
If they manifest one
but
thing,
you know what? Usually
next.
guys are like, I manifested a girl, and then we're like, okay, what about like success, career, and so this,
no,
it's better than most.
I guess so. I guess the niggas just want to manifest things for more baddies. I feel like the job might help.
The next component after self-forgiveness is self-praise. How often do you praise yourself? You know what's ironic? Whenever people die, that's when they seem to get extreme amount of praise. You need to begin to praise yourself as if you were another person and you saw that you died. That's the degree of self-praise that you need to have. Because here's the thing, if we go back to the foundations, you can only have what you already have. How can you desire to be praised by the world around you through the materialization of opportunities, career advances, employment, and money if you're not already praising yourself? And even the idea of praising yourself probably feels a bit uncomfortable. It feels a bit egotistical. And that should let you know how fucked we are as human beings. Even the idea of self-support and self-praise is wrong, because self-praise feels egotistical, but praise from other people feels like it's warranted, which is very fucking ironic, because that's having the external dictate the internal. You understand what I'm saying? And the energetic polarity for self-praise is self-criticism. You're more quick to criticize yourself than you are to praise yourself. And because you're more quick to criticize yourself, you set in motion for the universe to do nothing more than bring conditions, circumstances, events, and people. You do nothing more than set in motion for the universe to materialize nothing more than conditions, circumstances, people, and events that do nothing more that reflect that degree of criticism within you. Are you smart enough? Are you tall enough? Are you big enough? Mm-hmm. Are you cool enough? Are you sure you have what it takes? I don't think you have what it takes. Why would they choose you? You don't see that girl over there. Why they choose? You don't see that nigga over there. Why would they choose you? You could have done this better. That's not good enough. Every particular degree of self-criticism that we have internally is always going to be materialized into the consciousness of other people around us, whether we realize this or not. And the criticism that you give to yourself will always be the criticism that other people will give you, or the criticism that other people will think about you. Not because that's what they think, but simply because people echo what we whisper to them in consciousness, as Neville Goddard said. But the thing that we lack the most is self-praise. You done good. You done amazing. You done good. You done amazing. You really did that great. Wow, you're amazing. You're great. Now you're on a different level. How often do you say these things to yourself? So how could you ever expect the universe to reflect conditions, circumstances, and people and events that would stimulate you to even say that in the first place? If you're not telling yourself that you're great, if you're not telling yourself that you're amazing, if you're not congratulating yourself, then how could you set yourself in motion to be congratulated by the external? Which is very fucking funny, because like I said, even when we think of self-praise, it's more normal for the external to praise you. It's more societally acceptable for other people to praise you than for you to praise yourself, which is very hilarious, because that's the external. And if you allow the external to gas you up, then you allow the external power over the internal, and now you've given power for that praise when people criticize you to be the very fucking same thing. Believe it or not, I work with some of the biggest influencers that I couldn't even tell you guys because, they asked me to keep it private. And one thing that I taught to them about heavily is these two particular degrees of polarity, self-criticism and self-praise. Because more often than not, like we said, it is more societally acceptable for you to be told that you're good than you tell yourself that you're good. But if you don't tell yourself that you're good, how can anybody else tell you that you're good? You understand what I'm saying? And because you don't tell yourself that you're good, or that you're amazing, or you're doing great, or you're on the path, or this or this or this or that, then indirectly you open yourself up to experience the exact opposite. And because you don't gas yourself up to a point where nobody can faze you, you allow other people to faze you. Hence why I always say to you guys, I'm very appreciative of all the likes and the comments and this and this and that. But I promise you one thing about me right now, nigga. Let me tell you one thing about me. I understand something, and that's the same rope that they use to pull you up will be the same one they hang you with whenever they want. So I can't let any particular degree of praise affect me. In fact, most of the time, niggas are telling me shit that I already know by myself. And that's not egotism. Why would that be? Why would that be egotistical? But you see the association of it. And the mind forms dangerous associations. If you view self-praise as being egotistical, then to avoid being egotistical, because nobody wants to be an asshole, to avoid being egotistical, you avoid self-praise. And if you avoid praising yourself internally, then you don't set yourself the opportunity to experience conditions, circumstances, people, and events that set praise in materialize it. You just don't. So when you achieve something, whether it's the minutest of things, whether it's the smallest of things, praise yourself. You did great. You did good. Good job, buddy.
All right, got it.
You have to praise yourself for the smallest of things up to the greatest of things. Confucius says, eat at your own table the way you would a king's table. And I love that.
That's a boss, though.
It is. It is. And it all begins with coming to the understanding that praise begins within. It has to begin within. It has to begin within. How could you ever materialize that opportunity if you're not vibrationally resonant with that opportunity, because you do nothing more than criticize yourself and lower yourself from being vibrationally resonant with that opportunity? How? How could you materialize being with that person when you criticize yourself to such a degree that even getting with that person, you guys wouldn't be vibrationally resonant, so you'd end up separating anyways, because your own insecurities would be magnified from your own degree of self-criticism. How often do you criticize yourself? Probably every fucking day. We all do. Seek to replace that degree of self-criticism with self-praise. How often do you praise yourself? I just want to praise you. I just want to praise you. And you get the point. You must begin to praise yourself with the way that you desire for the universe to praise you. And if you don't, then you can't set into motion. You can't set in motion to experience that. Self-love gets tricky, man. It really gets tricky.
This person must have some real self-love here. Look at this.
We love to see it. Go on.
Hey, Nero.
Hey.
Just wanted to start by saying thank you. I wanted this year to be about exploring and traveling the world, and I manifested a SD.
S what?
SD.
SD. D is in Delta, not P.
Yeah, Delta. You know what that means, right? She got some sugar.
Yeah, I think that's a sugar daddy, because I was thinking D and P on keyboards are like far away from each other, so that's not a typo. Yeah. All right, cool. She manifested a sugar daddy
who flies me wherever I want to go, took me on a cruise for a week to the Bahamas, paid for my passport, and gives me $800
Pay for your passport.
You know, like that. And gives me $800 a month just because.
Okay, I want to hear something else now.
I also manifested a modeling contract after struggling almost 7 years to get signed. You really have helped me become a brand new person, and I will never sell myself short of anything I know I deserve ever again.
Alright, that's fire. We love to hear it, man. That's beautiful. Modeling contract.
You know, like that.
I have a few models that have said the same thing. They're going crazy.
No wonder that guy's in your followers likes.
that's why niggas are in the follows, the likes, the comments.
Yo.
I've seen guys move to girls on YouTube comments saying, "Here's my Instagram DM." I've seen it live. Oh, I've been on lives and guys will see a girl's profile picture, start chatting to her. It's relentless out here.
Yeah.
It's relentless out here.
The man them don't rest.
Nah, they don't rest. They definitely do not rest. You like orange, don't you, lad?
I love me a bit of orange.
I got you.
Orange is the new black, eh?
I got you.
What's your name? Cream.
The next component of self-love, self-worth. Now, luckily for you guys, I have a whole video on self-worth already, so go check that out. But I shall go into it slightly here. You see, your self-worth is nothing more than the energetic ceiling of all that you can materialize in reality. You see, most people desire to materialize things that unfortunately they are under. So let's say right here is your desired reality. And let's say here is the ceiling of your self-worth. And this is you. If you make the jump to try and materialize your desired reality, unfortunately, you'll hit the ceiling every single time. You won't be able to surpass the ceiling of your self-worth, because your self-worth is what you what you emotionally believe you deserve. Now, here's the thing. I see a lot of niggas with fake self-worth, and women, to be honest. A lot of people with fake self-worth, because what we believe is self-worth isn't what self-worth is. Most people think their self-worth is what they believe they deserve. And this isn't what self-worth is, because this idea of self-worth is from the conscious mind. Like I said, most people believe they deserve a certain amount of money. They believe they deserve a certain type of person. They believe they deserve a certain type of job. They believe they deserve a certain career. They believe they deserve a certain amount of sales in their business. They believe that they deserve this. They believe. But remember, belief will never be enough to materialize anything in reality, because belief still contains the potentiality for doubt, and that potentiality for doubt will often negatively alter the frequency that you're emitting for your desired reality. It will sway your consciousness of what you believe you are and who you believe you are, because belief isn't enough. Belief ain't enough to do shit in this universe. What true self-worth is, isn't what you believe you deserve. It's what you know you deserve. That is what true self-worth is. So what determines what you know? Is it, once again, anything to do with the conscious mind? No, it's not you thinking that you deserve better. When I'm talking about knowing is also always emotional. And anytime that anything is emotional, then it's reaching the subconscious. What your subconscious knows you deserve is what your self-worth will be. And what your subconscious knows you deserve is what it has emotionally and intensely experienced. Yes. Experienced. Whatever you have intensely and emotionally experienced in reflection of your desired reality is what your subconscious mind has calibrated to knowing what you deserve. So if you've experienced a series of relationships with nothing but toxicity, then the emotional intensity of that toxic relationship has now been calibrated to the subconscious mind. And even if you believe you deserve better than toxicity and you know you deserve a healthy relationship, your subconscious mind knows that you deserve toxicity, because it knows, depending upon what you have emotionally intensely experienced, that's what it's got calibrated to your subconscious mind. So when a healthy relationship comes, you're just like, something's off about this guy. You see, he's too nice. He's just, no, he's boring. Nah. And this can be extrapolated beyond relationships, right? You can know you can believe you deserve more money, but if you have emotionally and intensely experienced one particular financial level, your subconscious mind now has that financial level calibrated to be your self-worth, and now it's your ceiling. So anytime that you try and make more money, it bounces back. Every time you fall back to the same level, and you can never reach that ceiling. Speaking of which, if you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or an actor experiencing any particular degree of ceilings, and you want to enhance your career by doubling your revenue, securing more contracts, or just being better from a point of performance, then check out the link in the description. But it all comes down to this. For example, let's say there's a career promotion, but you've been doing nothing but self-criticizing yourself and punishing yourself. Back to the other components of self-love. Your self-love is now slightly affected. So now, because your self-worth is now calibrated to being at the same position, so let's say this is P for position, and this is PP, for promotion, position. If you seek to materialize that particular opportunity, your self-worth is the ceiling, so you end up hitting off that ceiling. And every time you apply, you either get ignored or they get told, nah, you gotta put in more time, or this or this or that. So the truth of the matter is, most of us deem ourselves as worthless. And we deem ourselves as worthless by our inability to shift from the level that we have emotionally and intensely experienced. And the only way that you can increase your self-worth is by altering what you have emotionally and intensely experienced. And the only way you can do that is by utilizing your imagination, by getting into a deeply meditative state and imagining a scene where somebody is acknowledging whatever it is that you seek to desire, and they're acknowledging it, and it's somebody that you love, because that will set emotion, a degree of emotional intensity. And once you displace what your self-worth has calibrated by creating either an equal or more powerful energetic charge, which is just an emotional charge, emotional intensity, you can dissipate that energy and end up altering what your mind believes it is that you deserve. And then the ceiling that you've been experiencing will no longer be there. And then when you seek to attain it, you go straight to it. Worthlessness is crazy, because when you think about it, a lot of our self-worth as human beings is dependent upon what other people say about our worth. Isn't that fucked up? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a friend, and because he believes that he's short, because he's short, and he sees what people say online about short niggas, that nigga's self-worth has just been absolutely destroyed. without coming to the recognition that that is allowing the external to make you feel worthless. And if you internally feel worthless, then your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. You can only have what you already have. And you'll have nothing more than conditions, circumstances, people, and events that reflect nothing more than your worthlessness. Even though none of us require fixing, none of us require any mending as if we're broken, right? We're all our materializations of God, and that is our inherent degree of worth. But a lot of people, society teaches us to determine our self-worth based upon what we're able to do, as opposed to what we're able to be. Which, ironically, what you be determines what you do, and that determines the result that you're able to materialize. It's completely in reverse. If you allow the external to make you feel unworthy, then, or worthless, that's nothing more than a reflection that you haven't solidified a degree of internal self-worth that can't be shaken. Because self-worth that can't be shaken can't be shaken. For example, you could never walk up to somebody who's 7 foot and say to them, "You're short as fuck," and they would be bothered by that. Because their internal calibration of who they are is unshakable. The same degree that there's some people you can say whatever to them and they're just not going to be shaken because they know who they are. They know who they are. They know who they are. They know based upon the emotional intensity that they have experienced within, which has led to them knowing, which has now led. And here's the thing, it's like, if the light's on, you can't tell me the light's off because I know the light's on. I don't believe the light's on. I know the light's on. And the only way you can get to a point of knowing is, like I said, by utilizing your imagination to internally create an emotionally intense experience that reflects that exact thing. Now, like I said, where do you get your worth from? That's something for you to write down, by the way, because it's going to be different for each person. Some people get their worth from money. Some people get their worth from clothes. Some people get their worth through other people telling them that they're worthy. You need to conclude whatever it is for you. And whatever it is from you, you can't get that from the external anymore. You have to utilize your imagination to internally give that to yourself. So as opposed to waiting for somebody on the street to come and tell you that you look nice, use your imagination to have people tell you that you're nice. Tell yourself that you look nice internally. And if you do that enough, your self-worth will be calibrated to a level where you don't even need someone to tell you that you look nice because you know you look nice. The only niggas I need to be told if they look nice or not are people that believe it. But if you know it, then there's nothing that can be done. And extrapolate this to career, extrapolate this to money, employment, all of that. If the external can alter the internal, then you will be a slave to reality. Because here's a bar that you need to write down. You can't be dependent upon the external world. You cannot be emotionally dependent on the external. You can only be emotionally dependent on the internal. Because once you relinquish dependency on the external and you only react to the internal world, then you're no longer a slave caught up in this mirror house that we walk in, upset our reflection.
It wouldn't be a Nero video without some good old Robin.
On the topic of self-praise, going back to it, I know it was like, two boards ago, but you also need to praise yourself intellectually. Like I said, there's the self-praise of, oh, you're doing great, or, you're doing amazing, or or congratulations to yourself, but also other aspects of yourself, such as you're so smart. Because one other thing that is common when it comes to the manifestation side of things is this internal lacking of conviction in what you know, that you know enough. But if you can convince yourself that, you studied a lot, like you know enough, you're smart enough, then that will have an effect on your ability to then go materialize. The next component of your self-worth is your self-respect. Do you respect yourself? More often than not, you disrespect yourself. And the way that we often disrespect ourselves is by letting others disrespect us. You talk crazy to yourself. You talk crazy to yourself. You talk to yourself in a way that if somebody came and spoke to you like that on the street, you might have a problem with them. And that's saying something. Because that person that comes on the street that says that was vibrationally resonant with you at that particular moment in time. And more often than not, we disrespect ourselves internally. And you disrespect yourselves through jokes. You might make jokes at yourself. Self-respect is a key component of self-love. It's the way that you conduct yourself. It's the things you allow. It's the places you allow yourself to go. It's the standards you've set for yourself. That's what respect is. It's a standard. And anytime you disrespect yourself, you are disrespecting your own standards. How often do you respect your own standards? You know you should be in a better career, but for whatever reason, you won't make that transition. And this is very different from you being happy in a career. If you're happy in a career, then that's amazing, and that's where you should be. But if you know that there's that promotion or another career, and you're longing for that, and you're beginning to resent your current position, then that's you not adhering to the standard that you know you should be at, which is self-disrespect. If you know that you're entertaining a certain caliber of person that you shouldn't be, but guess what, feels fucking fun, then you know that that is something you're disrespecting yourself in regards to. Anytime that you're not striving for your optimal, I don't even want to say optimal, anytime that you're not striving for a standard that you know you should strive for, then that's self-disrespect. This is very different. Bear in mind, if you're happy where you are, that's how you should be. I'm not one of them niggas that's gonna come online and gaslight niggas into hating their lives. Which, bear in mind, only sets in now, because you see that niggas would be like, oh, this is, oh, you're working a job, that's slavery. And it's like, what the hell? Like, don't let anybody gaslight you into hating your life, because the moment you do that, the more you set yourself in motion to begin punishing yourself, self-criticizing yourself, depleting your degree of self-worth, and also disrespecting yourself, which does nothing more than affect your self-love. And then that affects your ability to materialize conditions, circumstances, and opportunity that can lead to you being even more fulfilled, which then leads to you also not being fulfilled, which then leads to the lacking of those things. So don't do that. But it's the standards that you've set for yourself. Am I adhering to the standards that I've set for myself? Am I doing as much as I want to be? Not could be. Because once again, if you're happy with where you're at, then that's perfect, and that's where you need to be. But are you doing as much as you want? Are you in the position you want? And it all matters. It all matters. You need to be able to conduct yourself and the things that you allow. And this extrapolates to even how you allow people to talk to you. Because oftentimes, what often happens is this. Somebody might say something to you, right? and you may not defend yourself, or you may whatever. But then when you're by yourself, you're going to be thinking all the things that you should have said, without realizing that that degree of mental activity is still taking place within your consciousness, which is still leading to materialization of that experience, which is eventually going to happen again. When you don't defend yourself, you feel like you've let yourself down. When you feel like you've let yourself down, you've disrespected yourself. So then you set in more motion for yourself to be disrespected. Bear in mind, like I said, if you're happy with where you're at, then that's where you should be. But you can't be talking crazy to yourself in a way that you wouldn't allow somebody else to talk to you. And if you would allow yourself to talk to yourself like that, but not allow somebody else, you're still caught up in the cycle, because that other person is nothing more than a physical expression of you and another physical expression of you. So once again, it's just you just talking to yourself crazy regardless.
Not gonna lie, as soon as I finished the book, I manifested effortless cash flow, got rid of all my bad addictions, got a home and marriage I wanted.
Damn.
Fairs.
No, you don't want to share no more details, bro. It's quite a change.
You know, like that. It's nice to see all the lives that you've changed and impacted.
All the lives we've changed, nigga. Don't do that. We were supposed to shoot yesterday.
True.
I was telling one of my friends, like, why don't you just shoot without him? Sweet. Purple. And then, of course, the final component, very similar to self-respect, is self-discipline. How can you seek to discipline the universe when you can't even discipline yourself?
Discipline. Kinky.
Bit kinky. How can you master reality when you haven't even mastered yourself? And the thing about self-discipline is that your self-discipline directly has an effect on your self-confidence. Your self-confidence eventually leads to what I call conviction. And conviction is the basis of all manifestation. When you're in a state of conviction, you're in a state of knowing. When you're in a state of knowing, your subconscious mind has accepted. When your subconscious mind has accepted being the womb of reality, it will manifest experiences that reflect that. So your self-discipline actually sets into motion a chain of events that leads to manifestation. But when you're lacking self-discipline, by not adhering to the standards that you've set for yourself, you begin to disrespect yourself by stepping into your self-indulgence. Because when you go into self-indulgences, when you end up doing things that you want to stop, or doing things that you know isn't good for you. And bear in mind, this ain't like me saying stop smoking, stop doing this, stop drinking, stop eating meat, because we do all of that. But I don't have any issues with that in my mind. So there's no conflict when I partake in that. But for other people, when they begin to partake in things that they don't want to do, that sets into motion self-indulgence. That self-indulgence then affects their self-confidence, affects their conviction, affects their manifestation. Anytime that you indulge in things that you don't want to do, or things that you have an issue with doing, then you begin to affect your degree of self-love. Because how can you love yourself when you know that you're destroying yourself? And I don't even mean destroying yourself. I don't even mean destroying yourself in the things you do. Destroying yourself in the things you're thinking about the things that you do. That's what the difference is. So if you got no problems with drinking or smoking or eating meat, you're cool. I don't have a problem with any of those things. So I'm chilling. But for somebody that, for example, that wants to stop smoking or wants to stop drinking or wants to stop eating meat and they pause, and then they eat meat, pause, or they drink or they smoke, then they begin to beat themselves up internally. They begin to punish themselves. They begin to criticize themselves. They begin to, on the basis of their self-indulgence, they begin to do everything that depletes their self-love. And when that self-love is depleted, you're so far from feeling whole that you feel like you're lacking. And when you feel like you're lacking, you're on the opposite spectrum of self-love, because that's wholeness, that's completion, which then sets into motion an inability for you to materialize things. So self-indulgence. is all on the basis of you simply adhering to what it is that you want to do. Whether it's getting around to checking your emails, applying for that job, reaching out to that person, going to the gym, going on more walks, eating more healthy, whatever it is that you seek to do, it's all dependent upon your own standards that you set for yourself. But you need to strive for those standards. It's important that you do, because every time that you do something that you want to do, for example, the more you increase your self-confidence, the more you increase your conviction, the better is your manifestation. You know, eventually, guys, I'm going to stop doing videos eventually. And I'll do nothing more than probably live streams. Because I'm slowly getting to a point where people are like, can you make a video on this? I already made it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to be somebody who just comes up here who says shit just for the sake of saying shit. Like, I'll probably just do more live streams, more questions. That'll probably be slightly more beneficial. And even then I'll be like, just go watch that video, go watch that video, go watch that video. Cool. Now there's 2 points that I want to end with here. Your solitude is a reflection of your self-love. Most people are incapable of being by themselves.
It's a bit harsh, mate.
Quite literally. Without coming to the conclusion that the inability to be by yourself, to be comfortable by yourself, is the indication that having things around you, whether things or people, fulfills you, completes you, which is allowing the external to fulfill the internal, which is the basis of the illusion. You need to immerse yourself into solitude, whether that is quite literally going on a walk by yourself, no music, no nothing, just by yourself. Going out by yourself, just being by yourself. There's some people that have to be around other people. And when you think about it, as I said earlier, your self-love is a reflection of self-fulfillment, but it's also an indication of your comfortability. And if you're not comfortable with yourself, then fuck. You're going to be dependent upon everything outside of you, which then only sets into motion for you to be on this perpetual illusionary cycle. You have to get comfortable with being alone, because here's the thing: when you can love being by yourself, you're no longer dependent upon other people. And when you're no longer dependent upon other people, those people will seek to be dependent upon you. They'll seek to have you in that career position. They'll seek to have you in that relationship. They'll seek to have you as a client. They'll seek to have your business as the establishment that they go to, because you're okay. You love being by yourself. And when you love being by yourself, you truly then get to love God. Because in the instances where you're alone, the societal ego mask comes off. You no longer have to be someone's girlfriend, someone's boyfriend, someone's father, someone's mother, someone's friend, someone's this, someone's that. You actually take off the mask. And that's as close to who you are as you'll ever be. But if you don't like who you are at your core, then how could you expect the universe to love you at your core? And that's a bar at that down. Now, the last point is this. Be the love that you seek. Once you can begin to express love to the reality around you, and it's so funny, like, people will seek to be loved by the universe, but one, they don't love themselves, and two, they don't even love the people closest to them. They can't even love them. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget, I had this one client, she wanted to get married. This was years ago. She wanted to get married, so we were helping her. Bear in mind, she's actually getting married this year. You know who you are. I ran into you at the cafe a couple months back. I won't say your name. And she wanted love. And then I heard how she was speaking to her little brother. I was thinking, what? Most of us have the opportunity to exercise degrees of love with those already in our lives. But then we want love to come to us without also being the source. Because here's the thing. When you're the source of the love that you seek, you need to be the source of the love that you seek. And when you do that, quite literally, you set yourself in motion for things to come to you. as opposed to you going out for things. Because when you're the source, people come to you for it. So whether it's love, whether it's kindness, whether it's a stranger, a family member, a friend, just show love to somebody and continuously show love to somebody until you come to the recognition that through loving them, you're loving yourself. When you love yourself, the universe will then love you. When the universe then loves you, that more money will come, more people will come, and more opportunities will come. And that is the metaphysics to self-love.
Nigga, look at your thing. It looks like what's his name? Triple H when he does his. You know what it is? Your heart doesn't look like it's full of love. It looks skinny. You know what I'm saying?
On the floor, touch my body.